All right, welcome to our webinar this evening. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes for other members to come in and get situated. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Really glad to have you all with us tonight. Brad, what's that weather like in Wisconsin right now, by the way?
Well, we have about 18 feet of snow and it's raining right now. So it's quite the interesting day.
It really is 18.
Not that bad, no. Where we are, we get like lakefront from the Lake Superior. It's probably like 4 feet we got out here.
Okay.
Pretty significant.
Well, where I'm at in California, it's been pretty unprecedented in terms of weather and what we've gotten over the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, I've been seeing that, the rain and stuff.
Yeah, but you guys are probably like, that's nothing,
Yeah. When I lived out west, there was a snowstorm that shut down the whole city for like 4 days, and it was like 2 inches of snow.
I know.
It's like a slow Tuesday for us.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. So yeah. Oh man, so awesome. We are just giving it a little bit more time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening. We will have the chat wide open. There's also a Q&A function that you can use as well. You can message directly or to everyone, but there's a Q&A function there as well that you can utilize for to ask Brad questions as we go along here. So please use those. You can feel free to use the chat if you have any thoughts, questions. We can use it that way as well, but the Q&A is probably the easiest way to use to ask Brad a question as we go along. And Brad, I'll just read those questions as we move along too at intervals and at points. So
yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I definitely want this to be interactive. So hopefully the questions come in. And given that this was technically sold out, I'm looking forward to having a lot of participation too. So we'll see.
Absolutely. So I will give it another 30 seconds or so. We'll get started. Do a proper introduction.
And this is recorded, so anybody that misses this can see it at a different date too.
Correct. Yep. I believe the Nicollet College team will be sending this out afterwards. So if you aren't catching all the notes as fast as you'd like, or you need a little bit more time to digest what Brad is saying, then you'll be able to go back into the video and take a look. So, and with that, we're going to get started. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kenny Turner. I'm with the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. And I am currently located in the Los Angeles region, but NIFTY is an organization that is based out of New York City, but we're nationwide as well as global. And we have partnered with Nicollet College and the Grid to offer a series of entrepreneurship workshops / webinars this spring. And I'm happy to say this is the first of 6 that we're kicking off in this series. And so if you're not certain of what the other 5 are, you can go back to the Eventbrite and actually sign up for all of them. Highly recommend. And you can feel free to share as well. So you can kind of see Brad, who I'll introduce in just a second. He's actually going to kick us off with a 2-part workshop. So we're excited about that. And so we'll get started in just a second. But just want to again, friendly reminder, as you ask questions, feel free to use that Q&A function. We're going to be as interactive as we possibly can on webinar. And please feel free to continuously engage throughout the entire length of the webinar. So again, these workshops will be offered throughout the spring. We have 5 more. So we hope that you guys come back and enjoy the suite of workshops we have set up in partnership with Nicollet College, the Grid, and SBA. SBA is has helped us come together today, and we're really excited about the relationship and partnership. So without further ado, I'm excited to introduce to you guys Brad. Brad is a serial entrepreneur, a lifelong technologist, and a passionate advocate of living life to the fullest. Throughout the years, he's helped countless folks transform their businesses and lives through various companies and projects. Always interested in the next big opportunity. He loves partnering with creative, like-minded people to bring companies, projects, and big ideas to the market. Brad is also the founder of Sitecast, and he does a whole lot more. So without further ado, I'm actually going to hand over this portion and the rest of this session to Brad. And Brad, I'll be here. Feel free to tag us as needed. So thank you, Brad. Guys, can we give a nice warm round of applause virtually for Brad Gauthier, who will introduce himself a little more in the business and what he does.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this because it's changing nearly every day with the AI world. I've had to change this presentation about 3 times this week from just the announcements this week. It's just absolutely mind-blowing what is available to us. We're truly living in the most exciting time ever in human history. It's just like on the precipice of technology. Like, we thought the internet was a big deal. AI and the innovations that are going to happen this decade are going to be is going to dwarf the innovations that were happening with the internet. It's really exciting. So how we're going to go about this is, I thought that I would first introduce like what is AI and talk a little bit about what AI is, and then kind of zoom back out. And the goal is to talk about productivity and personal productivity, your business productivity, all that kind of stuff. And then after that, then we can get into some specific tools and things that you can use. In that process, I really want questions. I just don't want to talk to my webcam here. I would really love any questions because, you know, it's much better when it's interactive. So with that said, it's really interesting to teach this right now, because what's going on is everyone kind of has their own understanding of what AI is. And some people may be completely oblivious, and some people might, you know, be fairly well up on it. So when teaching it, it's kind of teaching to a broad spectrum of understanding. And I have to continually remind myself that, you know, I'm super deep into it, and, you know, folks might not have the understanding that I have, but I'm just reminded, when, just kind of on a side note, when I first started teaching social media, that was in like the late 2000s, and I had a class, and I asked what I thought was a rhetorical question of how many people have a Facebook account, and it was like maybe 2008, maybe. How many people have a Facebook account? And one person in the entire room raised their hand. And so all of my slides for Twitter and LinkedIn, you know, that was kind of pointless at that point. So I've learned over the years to kind of keep an open approach to all this. And really, at the end of the day, the goal is to more of teach you how to fish instead of just give you a fish, because there's going to be more and more tools. There's going to be new innovations. There's going to be all sorts of stuff that exist in the world. And the more that you just understand what AI is and how we can apply that to our productivity and apply that to our workflow and our day-to-day lives and business, all sorts of things. The more that we just fundamentally understand about this stuff, it doesn't really matter what tool comes up. Like, you know, today alone, there was 2 huge AI announcements, like if either of these would have happened 5 years ago, it would have been world changing. And they're like not even on the front page of any newspaper right now. It's like, that's how crazy this stuff is. But anyway, so I just wanted to hop into a screen share first, and then we'll hop back out and talk about productivity, and then we'll hop back in and do that. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh, Kenny, can I share the screen?
Yeah, let me make sure. Sorry. I think you had-
No worries.
Here we go.
And feel
There-
free to interrupt anytime if there's a question, because it's like I was saying, it's very it's tricky because I don't know really what people know.
Right.
Oh, here we go.
I was gonna ask, if now I was wondering if the audience understood AI, like that definition, as you've come to know it, and you probably already have it and set up, but if you had to give the simplest form of definition in terms of defining what AI is to the average person or the average entrepreneur, what would that definition be?
Yeah. So before I hop into that, that's a great question. So there's actually, let me do the screen share because that will I think I can answer that while doing the screen share. So I got permission here now. So let me share. I'm gonna get over here, and once I can get over into the little Zoom things in the way. Okay, here we go. All right. So when we're talking about AI, it's such a broad topic. It's like literally talking about the internet, where like the internet could be web pages, it could be email, it could be just pretty much anything that's sent digitally now is kind of the internet. It's the same concept with AI. Obviously, we've all seen those robots that Boston Dynamics makes. Those are powered by AI. But you might not realize that for years you've been using AI. So I have Google Maps up here, and if you're like me, I've been using it since it was out. But even if for the past decade, Google Maps has offered this. So let me just like give you an example here. So if we do, let's zoom in on Chicago, Illinois, but then let's get directions to say Madison, Wisconsin. And so when you get directions, it actually, well, this not the best example, but you see that there's like two other options of driving this route. So there's one that's, let's see, driving. Okay, so if we do driving, here we go. If it's flagged on driving, there's one that's 2 hours, 26 minutes long, and then there's one that's 2 hours, 53 minutes. A lot of this stuff is powered by AI. It's just that it's so integrated in our life that we don't realize it. But in order to like understand what's the quickest route and to factor in all of these different cars and all of these different devices that determine, there might be road construction or an accident or whatever that's going to in real time dramatically change the time that it takes to travel. We're using AI every day. Another example would be Netflix. If you're using Netflix and you hit the I like it or I don't like it, the thumbs up or thumbs down, that's training the Netflix AI to the next time you go into Netflix, it's going to have slightly better recommendations for you. So when AI becomes ubiquitous in some form, whether that's maps, another example I had is, I really got to, if I need to get this Zoom thing out of here. I don't know how to, I might have to do this. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so another one that we probably don't think about, but is pretty impressive. Like if you went back 20 years from now, this would be mind-blowing. But the Snapchat filters, that's all powered by AI. But we don't think of it as AI. We just think of them as lenses and filters because they've become ubiquitous. And so now when it comes to the business world and building businesses and entrepreneurship and just becoming a more productive employee or whatever, whatever it is, the rage is all around AI, but there's going to be a time very shortly where it just becomes normal life. And so as we start to adopt more AI, artificial intelligence, it just will be, whatever that company brands it at. So for instance, just today, Microsoft released a new AI like partner inside of their Office suite called Copilot. It's not called AI, it's just Copilot. But because of the way that it's integrated, it's just going to blend seamlessly into our workflows. And so as we learn about AI, we kind of have to think about how it will integrate without us actually thinking of AI. So does that answer that, Kenny?
Absolutely. No, I was looking up Copilot just now. I was going to put it in the chat for everybody.
Yeah, I got a
That's
video
really interesting.
queued up. It's really sweet. It's like
Wow.
really crazy. All right. So first off, I just wanted to give you like a wide array of different products that are out right now. And it's a great way to let's see. So if
Hi
I
there,
go,
this is Tony. I am working the background, but you do have a question in the chat. It
okay.
says, I have been using OpenIA for a year. How do we use AI for obtaining clients and making instant communication? Is your AI connected to internet?
That's a great question, and that's basically what the whole presentation is going to answer. So I will get to that. That's a really great question. That basically sums up everything that we're going to be talking about here. So great question, and so stay tuned. So with all of this, I just wanted to show you this example because this is incredibly just like mind-blowing that that this exists. So this person here does not exist at all, like literally at all. It's a generated let's see. So it's a generated person in a video that I can chat with. So let's say let's ask it, it's funny, it's her, but it's like it's not, it's just a computer program. What is the best way to talk with AI? So you can ask her something, and this is all on the fly. This person does not exist. Oh, it's not. Is there? I had this before where it doesn't have the audio.
Oh, when you share?
Yeah. Let
If
me
you,
stop sharing. I think I had to select something here. Let me
Right.
just
When you
share sound. Okay.
There you go.
There we go. All right, let me get back. Okay. So let's pretend that you heard her. But let's say please.
Sure thing, Bradley. When you're communicating with an AI, it's important to keep in mind that it's not a human being, but rather a machine that's designed to process information and respond accordingly. With that in mind, here are some tips for talking to an AI. 1. Start with a greeting.
Okay.
Just like you.
So that gives a really good example of, where it's going to be headed, where we can generate people on demand, have them look like they're talking, have conversations with them. So just from that side alone, the possibilities are really endless of what we can do with AI from a generative standpoint. But I'll give you a few different specific examples here. So one is, this one, you can upload a PDF, and I'll email out all of these to everyone when the after this presentation. So don't worry about these specific websites that I share with you, but just trying to give you some examples. So this PDF, you can upload a PDF and it will analyze the entire PDF, and you can ask questions about it, and you can have basically a conversation with your PDF. So you think about all of the possibilities with that. And then here's a real crazy one. So with just, I think yesterday, there was a new program in this built where you can record if you get a robocall, you can record the call, it will transcribe it, and then from that transcription, it can automatically draft a lawsuit to then sue the robocaller. And it's all done automatically. And so like the possibilities with a lot of the professional services is pretty mind-blowing. So that's pretty fascinating. And then from a writing standpoint, there's writing software that will allow you to pretty much generate any text that you want, whether that's an email, a blog post, a book, you know, anything that you want to do, there's all of that available. And then say you're not that good at social media or writing emails or blog posts or something, there's other platforms that create different website copy for you, or it will optimize your email. It's really quite mind-blowing, and these are just like a sliver of the tools that are out now. But with that in mind, it's really important to think of when you're creating all of this content, you might be asking yourself, well, if everybody's creating this content, how does mine shine above everybody else? And so one of the biggest reasons you would want to create content or just expand your message using AI might be for, say, search engine optimization. And the beauty of search engine optimization is it's an easy way to get found. But with all of this, there's been rumors that Google doesn't want you to have all of this AI generated text. But the good news is that it actually, Google is now, they've changed their stance, probably in light of ChatGPT coming out, and that all you have to do is, as long as it's people first content, you're free to do whatever you want. And so it's pretty amazing, the possibilities. You could have endless blog posts, you can have just a massive help desk, you can have just all of this content that's automatically created for you. And so those are kind of just a few tools to get you a good understanding of what's available. And now I'll kind of dive into some specific examples. So you've probably heard of ChatGPT. I would love to actually see a, let me see. So I would love to see if you mention in chat, or, you know, just raise your hand, or, you know, however you want to do it, how many people have interacted with AI. That'd be pretty interesting to see. But, you know, the one that's making a lot of the news is ChatGPT. And all right, so there are some folks that have used AI, which is sweet. So the one that's making all the news right now is ChatGPT, and it's for good reason. With ChatGPT, it's become a force that you can't really ignore anymore. Because before, like with the old, they're called GPT. And just on a side note, if you're ever wondering what GPT means, which I bet most people wonder what GPT means, is it means generative pre-trained transformer. All that means is that it's absorbed like all of the internet, and it can generate text based on what you put in. But with GPT-4 that just got released a couple days ago, I'll just point out a few highlights of this. This is mind-blowing. So it's passed the bar exam at the 90th percentile. The previous model passed it, which is great, but it passed it at the 10th percentile. And now it's passed it at the 90th percentile. So if you think about all of the attorneys out there, it's, you know, there's coming a time where they really need to adapt to this, or they're going to get replaced by a computer. So it's just pretty fascinating. They've passed all sorts of different exams. You know, AP biology, it's passed at the 85th to 100th percentile. Calculus is up there. You know, it's just incredible how smart these tools are. And then when it comes to English, you know, the accuracy, you'll look, there's English is 85%, but it knows all of the other main languages, Spanish, Greek, Turkish, Bengali. It knows all of those languages, and it can translate them in real time. So the amount of ability to run certain calculations or communicate with other cultures is just becoming really unbelievable. And the most amazing thing that just got released 2 days ago is that you can do images now. So this example here is it's asking, what is funny about this image? Describe it panel by panel. So, there's obviously, this is an old cable that shouldn't be in an iPhone. And it describes what is unusual about the photo. And so now you can start to think, what are those applications that are going to use this technology? And it's really, really quite exciting. So that's GPT. And I have, just as you see, I just have a few more tabs, and then we'll back out and talk a little bit about productivity. So the other thing is image generation. And there's a really cool, so if you've played around with this, but with image generation, this is kind of just it's the early phases of it, but it can lead into some pretty amazing things. So for instance, when I was helping a nonprofit, they wanted a laptop, or someone using a laptop by the lake. And we looked through Shutterstock and all of these different stock photo places, and they just didn't have the photo that we wanted. But let's try it again. So let's try to make one. So let's see, person. Let's do happy person sitting by the lake using a laptop. Okay, and I'll hit generate. And again, this is like early days with this technology. There's other tools out there that blow this one away, but it's pretty fascinating. It just takes a second here, but as it's loading, here we go. So look at this. Their faces are a little messed up because, like I was saying, this one isn't probably the best tool, but these people don't exist, these lakes don't exist, none of this exists, but none of these existed prior to me typing this in, but now they exist. So a better example.
Wait,
yeah.
I just got to say, that is mind blowing, because over and over again, I mean, there are entrepreneurs, I'm sure, on this chat as well. And guys, keep those questions coming. But how many times, Brad, have folks tried to build their website, find photos for social media, find something for their new marketing campaign, their brochure, or a PowerPoint deck, or something to explain their idea and their entrepreneurial venture, and they just can't find the right photo. This has been,
Sure.
this is just, I'm kind of geeked on it because I've had that issue over and over and over again. So I'm sure there's been others on this call who has the same. So thank you for sharing this resource.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's exactly, I'm just trying to open your eyes to like the different possibilities. I'm cruising through it because there's a ton of information that we got to get to, but I just want to, like, everybody's use case for AI is going to be different. If you're a copywriter, or you're a marketer, or an attorney, or an accountant, or an entrepreneur, like whatever you are, you're going to use it in your own way. And so I'm just trying to like paint a picture of all of the different really exciting things that are possible. And from an image generation standpoint, the one that's really cool, but so again, going back to how dramatically this stuff is changing. So the one that's really cool is Midjourney, and Midjourney just today released Midjourney version 5. And so I wanted to show you that, but that actually, it's so overwhelmed. Right before this, it was crashing. So I'll just show you kind of some of the examples that the community have made. But look at this. This person does not exist. This person never existed. People just type in these words. So all they had to type in was Red Riding Hood embracing a wolf, forest in the background, cinematic, blah, blah, blah. And that image popped out. It's really exciting. And so like you can make some really interesting photos like this. You would never know that this person doesn't exist. And so the level of creativity that is going to just, it's going to be a Cambrian explosion of art and creativity, and it's just really exciting. Like, you can't tell me that's not a real photo. Like, it's just so exciting. Okay, so then moving on from images, now if you can do images, obviously you can do video. And so I had shown you that example earlier, but there's videos where, like, so for this person, let's hear it in,
Our video creation
that person
platform
doesn't exist.
enables you
She's
to communicate
talking.
in many languages at the click of a button.
And then, so here's her talking in Spanish,
Nuestra plataforma para crear videos
in German, saying the same thing,
Mit unserer Videoplattform
in French.
Notre plateforme de création vidéo.
And so the person who created this video just typed in a little bit of text, and the video was created. It was translated to other languages. It all happened without any human interaction. And so it's really, I can't say it enough. I'm just, every time I get into it, it's so exciting. So what was launched today, and this is kind of more relevant to the stuff that we'd be talking about, is Microsoft just released today, this stuff's changing so quickly, they just released today the Copilot. And so they're building this into all Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Excel. And so I have a video for you to watch. It's a minute and 36, and it will show you how our work will change very, very quickly. Okay, so that kind of previews what is going to be in the new Microsoft, the Outlook, the PowerPoint, all their different software that they have, Teams. It's all going to work together. Google obviously is doing the same with their Google Docs and Sheets and whatnot. And I assume there's going to be a million other startups using this. And so going forward, we're going to use this, but I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to talk about productivity and AI in general. So, all right, we can see you again. All right, cool.
Brad, just so as you're transitioning, I think we may have a question from Shara Good. I think there's a hand up. Shara, if I'm saying your name right, we can allow Shara to talk if you're okay with that, or she could just type a question. Either way. Shara, would you prefer to ask a question, or do you want to just type it in?
Or the hand could be up from when I asked about the AI. I'm not sure.
Actually, I think that was another hand up from that time. But all right, we'll keep going. Sorry, Shara. Thought you had your hand up there.
Okay. Well, so to zoom back out, just exploring what AI is going to do for our day-to-day life. If you think about So I really love this example. So if you think about like 100 years ago, there used to be people that would go and learn how to be a saddle maker for horses. So if you think about in the 100 some years ago, so many people would be an apprentice. They would learn how to be a saddle maker. They would spend their entire life making saddles. And in that time, they would literally spend their entire career making saddles. All the while in the late 1920s or so, there started to be cars. They would drive by, but they would still keep making the saddles. They would people going to get an apprenticeship to make a saddle. And it really took until the 30s, 40s, even 50s for saddle makers to become kind of an antiquated concept in terms of a job. However, and so that was like many, many decades for those saddle makers to learn a new skill. And they might have just like then transitioned into making boots or making, chairs or something else. But those saddle makers, they had a lot of time to react and adapt to the changing world as the car started eliminating the horse. If you think about now, though, we are now in an era where saddle makers are nearly every white collar job, a lot of blue collar jobs, and a lot of software, and nearly everything that we interact with right now. But we don't get decades to adapt anymore. We have maybe a year or two. And the way that things are going with AI now is that we might only have a week, like depending on what job we have. Like if we're, if like a low level attorney, or, some of the professions that don't really require a lot of like human interaction, that are doing a repeatable thing, those jobs are not going to exist much longer, if at all. Maybe they're already gone now and people just don't know it. And so we're in this era where we need to reskill. Everybody in the world, all Americans, everyone internationally, everyone that watches this needs to start thinking about what are the things that an AI can easily do in their day-to-day life, and learn how to do that, how to interact with AI. Because if you're just doing it manually, an AI can do it better, it can do it faster, it can do it cheaper. So we're in this era of massive transformation. So with that in mind, if we start thinking about like, what are the things that can be automated, that gives us a good idea of where to start. So with that said, like for me, like I'm lazy. Like I love being lazy. And so I gravitate to a coding technology, or not, probably like a methodology. It's called dry coding. Don't repeat yourself. Like if you're doing something over and over again, that's a very good opportunity to automate it. And so if, like, say every single day that you're doing something over and over again, there's probably going to be an AI that you can integrate into it. And so I'll give you an example of how we did this with our company. About 5 years ago, a cleaning company, their office manager was just trapped in doing this repeated task every single week. And it was new customers would email them, and they had this like Google form that prospects would fill out. How many bedrooms do you have? How many, do you want your fridge cleaned? Is there a second floor? All this kind of stuff. And from that response, the office manager would then go in and create a quote, was based on, the square footage and all the answers. And then they would email that answer out. And that took that person about 5 hours a week to do that. So that's about 20 hours a week. They came to us and said, there's got to be a better way. And so we coded a way to automate that whole process. And we took their metrics, their framework of how to price it, and we created a custom form that a customer could sit there, fill it out, and then submit that, and then instantly the customer would get an email with the quote. So it now went from 5 hours a week to 0. And so that's 20 hours of freedom that person got by automating that task. And by doing that, they were then able to get additional crews. They were able to have a nice dashboard. That just like everything changed about their workflow in a way where the company became more productive. And so with AI now, that is just light years ahead in terms of the ways that you can automate the things that are usually repeatable in your day-to-day. So with all of that, let me just kind of zoom back out and let's talk about productivity. So what is productivity? Productivity is being able to do more with less time and just allowing you to perform better, whether that makes more money or frees up your time to work on your business instead of in your business, or whatever those may be. That being more productive just allows you to perform better. And so in the past decade, we've created a productivity model called the STEM model. And so that stands for, it's an acronym, so STEM. So that's systems, tools, energy, and mindset. And so it starts with the easiest to change is your systems, and then it goes all the way to your energy and mindset is kind of tricky to change. And we obviously can't talk about the energy and mindset in an AI conversation. So we'll talk about the systems and tools. And so the systems are how you go about your day to day, from a, how do you prioritize your tasks? What do you do in terms of if someone wants your attention, just how you handle your day. And then the tools you use are the ways that can help speed up all of those tasks that you're doing. And the tools might be a task list, a calendar, email, writing, all of that stuff. So when we're talking about a lot of this, it's really going to be focused on the systems and the tools that you use. And you saw a couple of the tools, but when it comes to AI, the way that I try to think of it is the best way to improve your systems is to delegate your tasks, because you can either, you can either delegate it, delegate or delete it or something else. But basically, you typically want to delegate that task. So in the past, you had to hire someone to delegate it. Now you can assign an AI to do it. And so the way that I think about all of these AI tools is that they're really like remote workers. And the more that you think of them as a remote worker that is available 24/7, they never have sick days. They respond within 3 seconds instead of 3 days. They don't cost nearly at all any money. So it's like having a remote worker that's just a complete superhuman remote worker. And so if you start thinking about these remote workers in that way, it's a lot easier to go about your day. So let's just say that one example that I've really gravitated towards, and we can paint the picture that I'm assuming Microsoft is going to be doing this, but there's a lot of tools that can be put in place. So let's say you're having a meeting with a bunch of folks. You could, in theory, record that meeting, transcribe that meeting, and then take that transcription, run it through an AI analyzer, and then ask questions about that meeting of how it could have been better. What are some thoughts? And so we're gonna hop into there. It's pretty exciting. I see a couple questions though. Let me just are people able to chat? It doesn't. So the questions are here.
Yeah, you can see the questions there. And if would you prefer them to talk talk verbally, or just would you like to just answer the question live there?
Yeah, so I'll what is the point of reskilling if those jobs can be outsourced in 6 months? Okay, so that's a great, so Tommy just asked,
That's a
what
good
is the
one.
point of
Yeah.
reskilling if those jobs can be outsourced in 6 months, which is incredibly true. But also, if you think about it, most jobs are going to be, they're going to be eliminated by someone who's using the AI. It's probably not going to instantly be eliminated by an AI. It's going to be eliminated by someone who's more productive than you using AI. And I really like the Microsoft brand name of Copilot, because that's really what it is. It's, if you think of it as a Copilot, or like I was saying, remote worker, what, like, it's just something that's there to make you more productive. It doesn't really matter when it comes to the specific topic. It's just that if you adapt it before other people adapt it, it should be there. But the jobs that are the most obvious that are going to go away are the ones that have repeatable tasks, that have that don't really deal with humans, because human to human relation, people want to deal with humans. Like, it's going to be a long time before you go to a restaurant and you only talk to a robot. Like, you might get your food served by the robot, but when you order, or like, there's still going to be humans. Like, people want to have human interaction. But if there's something like, say, you're in customer service and you only do it through chat, and that's how you do the customer service, those jobs are almost all gone instantly already. So those are the type of jobs that are going to be gone. And it's more of who have the human skills to like, stay relevant, I guess. So I think that's kind of oh, I think that was, they hit enter too quick. All right, so here's another question. What are some areas in one's personal life and in business as a freelancer, small business owner, that AI can prove useful? It's so overwhelming to think about. Tell me about it. Maybe understanding the different categories will be helpful in integrating AI. And that's a good point. I think we can get to that over time in this presentation. But it really is a case-by-case basis. It really comes down to what you're doing. And it goes back to what I was talking about, of the dry, of don't repeat yourself. So whatever you're doing over and over again, there's probably some sort of AI tool that's out there that you can use now to automate that whole process. And it's just a matter of finding it. And in this process, you'll learn about, how to interact with that. So I'll get to that. All right, and I got one more question here. Would it be fair to say that the new super skill to master is mastering prompt writing? Yes, yeah. So that's going to be, when I do the screen share, that's a great question, Jonathan. I will get to that in about 5 minutes here. So that leads me to just going back to, so just one more thing before I hop into it is there's a lot of like ethical considerations to consider with all this. I wouldn't be remiss to say, like, when you look at some of these images, like, you could type in create a Marvel character and it will literally create a Marvel character. It's the future is really unknown for this generative AI. It's going to be happening. I imagine there's going to be a ton of lawsuits. Artists, are rightfully concerned that they're going to be replaced. And it's pretty interesting, because the story that AI always told was that it was going to be the blue collar jobs that were going to be gone first, the factory workers, the like, not the creative class people. But what happened is it's the first people to go is the creative class. So it's a complete 180. And so the artists, the web developers, the the designers, all of these different people that have a freedom of, there's a range of accepted results. Turns out that that's the best for AI, because when you have a specific task, an AI might not know that specific task. And you'll see, like, there's ones where AI just makes up stuff. But when it comes from an artistic standpoint, that doesn't really matter. You know, if like some of the early image generators would have 6 fingers on the hand, where, like, you know, that was kind of weird, but like, if it just makes things up. And so when it's factual, that's a problem. But when it's creative, that's not really a problem. Like, yeah, 6 fingers, but like, it's getting better where like the Midjourney 5 that I just showed, they've solved all that problem. So it's pretty fascinating. But so as you approach this, and it's really going to be an issue in schools. I know some corporations are even banning it, where, you know, people are able to write essays, or they're able to, you know, kind of just do whatever their job is through AI. And so I think this is kind of just like an interim issue where, like, for instance, with schools, Khan Academy just released a massive amount of amazing AI tools just yesterday. And Khan Academy now, you can have interactive quizzes. You just really got to check it out. It has nothing to do with this presentation, but like, the Khan Academy stuff is amazing. But from an ethical standpoint, you know, the schools that are slow to embrace, and they just want people to write essays and do the old way of doing it, students are going to figure out a way to get around it, just like calculators. You know, 20 years ago, teachers were like, you know, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket all the time. You got to learn how to do math. Well, I have a calculator in my pocket all the time now, and I can speak to it and it will tell me anything that I want. And so when it comes to this new AI stuff, it's really the new calculator. So we just got to learn how to embrace it. But I'm going to get back into sharing my screen, and we're going to go into actually how to structure AI or AI prompts. Let me see. Okay. Before I do that, is there any other questions? Doesn't seem like
Anyone? Yeah, nothing in the Q&A, but if you guys have a question real quick that you want to ask in the chat, feel free.
Okay,
right.
so I'm gonna hop out of this because this is a little advanced. We'll go into the Chat GPT. So like I showed you, there's a ton of different tools, but the one that's really popular right now is this Chat GPT, and rightfully so. It's incredible because in the past, you would just put something in and something would pop out. But now you can actually have a conversation with it, and it will remember that conversation. And so the more that you get good at conversing with AI, it's really, really exciting. So I have ChatGPT Plus. So I actually have access to the GPT-4, but it's actually pretty slow. So I'm actually not going to use it because it's just too slow for this presentation. And it's actually kind of funny because like having it take 10 seconds versus 3 seconds, like it's doing amazing things, and we're complaining that it takes 7 seconds longer. But
you know, is normally Chat GPT free to access, or like for instance, you mentioned that there's a plus component. So is there a fee to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's free to use, but if it's in like a period where there's a ton of people using it, you might get kicked off. It's a little slower. You know, there's just it's $20 a month. And most people don't need to pay for it, in my opinion. But I use it literally every day for almost every task. I outsource everything now. I'm in here all the time. I use it on my phone. I use it on my computer. And you'll see, like, I wanted to cruise through all that because we really don't, this is only 90 minutes. I could literally talk for 90 hours about all this stuff. But you'll see that just using ChatGPT alone, not to mention all the other tools, is life-changing. Like you'll literally change your life by using this. So yeah, it's free, but I pay for the plus. And then with GPT-4 coming out, or it just came out, it's pretty sweet. But you'll see that like this is speed is all the way there, and it's like, you know, pretty slow. So we'll just do 3.5 unless the answer is weird. Okay, so to answer Jonathan's question, and really the general concept around GPT is that there's an input and an output. And whatever the input is, it goes into this like fuzzy thing and out pops an answer. I could go into the scientific reasoning behind the fuzzy stuff, but we don't have enough time and it's just confuse people. So just think of there's an input and an output. The input is called a prompt. And so the prompt is what allows you to get a good output. So there's a saying, garbage in, garbage out. It's the same with this. And so I have a really good example. And let me see, it's right here. Yep. So I'll use it by a joke. All right, so I'm going to do a generic prompt here. So this is the prompt. I'm going to paste in here, tell me a joke about mushrooms. So this cannot be more generic, but at the same time, pretty interesting because, you know, when was the last time you asked the computer to tell a joke and it actually did? So I'm going to hit that. All right, so this was, anybody that's been through third grade knows this joke. Why did the mushroom go to the party? Because he was a fun guy to be with. And so, you know, that's fascinating that it's able to tell that joke, but that prompt was incredibly generic. And so what we actually need to do is add some context around it. And so I'm going to copy this one instead. And, you know, I actually want to switch to, I've never done this. I just want to see what happens. So I'm going to do GPT-4. All right, so what I entered, so here's a different prompt. It's more elaborate, but the output is drastically different. So imagine you are a professional stand-up comedian. You try to emulate, and then it says comedian in curly brackets, joke style, pacing, and punchlines. You strive to be original and do not ever plagiarize. You will be performing in front of an audience of 40 to 50-year-old adults from Wisconsin. Your goal is to generate a hilarious bit about topic for this stand-up special. If you understand, respond with understood. So I'm going to put this in there, and now it's going to think about it, and all right, it understands it. So now we've primed the conversation in a way where we're going to get a much better output. So now let's do, let's say, we'll keep it family friendly with, so the comedian. So now you see that, and I'll get into these things, but we'll do the comedian as Jerry Seinfeld, and the topic is again mushrooms. And we'll see what it. Okay, so I won't read this whole thing, but it says, ladies and gentlemen, I've never read this before. No, this has not existed prior to this. But ladies and gentlemen, how's everyone doing tonight? You know, I've been thinking a lot about mushrooms lately. You know, those fungi that people love, either love or hate. I mean, what's the deal with mushrooms? They're like the undecided voters of the food world. And so, you know, that's already sounding like Jerry Seinfeld. But let's see what the joke is. So you see that I don't know if, are you able to read this, Kenny? Can you see this?
I can see it. Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm actually mesmerized that.
Yeah, so I won't read this whole thing because obviously a joke needs like delivery, and I'm coming off a cold, so my throat can't deliver a joke that well. But so once this stops, it just keeps going. All right, so this is pretty funny, but But back to foraging for mushrooms, there's a bit of a gamble involved. You could either have a delicious meal or end up in the emergency room. It's like the Russian roulette with fungi. So, so that just shows that it's such a dramatic output by just taking the time to have a better input. And that, again, that input is called prompts. And everyone that's on this call, and just email me, and I can send you some of my favorite prompts. My email, or we can send. I was muted.
Yep, that was me. I hit the wrong button. I meant to
Okay.
unmute myself, but I
Okay.
want to tell you, put your email in the chat there, just
Oh yeah.
so they have it. Yeah, it'd be great.
To everyone. So just
Okay.
email me if you want. I got a ton of prompts that, like, you'll see right here. I've been collecting them. Because I was playing around with this for a long time, and then I was like, I should start saving these. So started saving them, and I have a ton. But so I hope that paints a picture of the better input, the better output. And before I get further, I have 2 more questions here. So, all right, Kenny, do you want to ask these questions, and then I can answer them?
Yeah, sure. How do you feel about AI prompt generators and ChatGPT prompt generators?
That's a great question. So for the folks that don't know, there's now a ton of tools, there's browser plugins, there's all sorts of things that will create prompts for you. And I think it's a great, anything that you find useful is great. So, whatever works for you. I actually have one in here that is a prompt creator. I started to, so we'll get to the next question really quick here, but so for instance, here's one that, let's do a new chat here. I just created this. So now generate, here, let's do a better one. I got so this prompt, which I won't read, but I'll just explain really quick. So it's going to allow you to create your own prompt. So as you work with this more and more, you'll be able to create. So what do you want the prompt to be about? And I'll talk about this, what I just put in there, but let's say jokes. And then, so you can, it's really open-ended what you can do. And so that prompt right there then allows you to go through this and create your own prompt. So you see that the revised prompt based on what I did was generate a funny joke, which is my first example. But then there's questions. So would you like to be clean or contain adult humor? Do you have a preferred format, one-liner, story format? And so based on the prompt, and so to go back to this, how it is laid out is your first response will be asking me what the prompt is about. Based on the input, it'll generate this information, and then it will keep going through the process. So it's pretty fascinating. You can pretty much do anything. And a lot of the tools and plugins that are out there are just kind of fast tracking this process, but they're all kind of doing the same thing behind the scenes. So we can get into more of those. But all right, so the next one then.
Yep, one more question there. So when you, and this is from Tommy. So when you say that this stuff has never been created or seen before, what happens if you type in the same prompt?
That's a great question. So there's a variance of creativity that's allowed. And so I can actually do that over here. So if I do, let me do this complete here. So there's a thing called temperature, and other AI platforms probably use a different term, but the temperature is how creative you want it to be. So if you want it to be absolutely not creative, 0. If you want it to just make stuff up, you would do 1. And so every time you put in the prompt, it's going to slightly answer differently based on the temperature. And so let's just, I think that answers it, because I'll get into the other prompts, but it's always going to be different based on, what the temperature is. And in ChatGPT, it's it's somewhat creative. It's kind of doing it for you, but it'll almost always be a different result. And that's another actually a good point, is that you can go in here, just learning about the software, you can actually go in and edit any of this. So I could go in, and instead of jokes, I can edit this prompt and say, or even I could even just do regenerate, and it's going to be slightly different. So like, whatever it is, or I could say mushrooms and not about jokes. So, okay. So, whatever you put in, it's going to have somewhat of an open-ended response. All right. Any other questions on that? So let me get back to, all right. So with that in mind, understanding how this all works is somewhat important. So how all of this new AI works is they're LLMs, which means large language models. And basically what that means is they've consumed a ton of information on the internet. They've read books, read medical journals, all sorts of things. And from there, it basically is smart enough to predict the next word. Like that's literally all it is it's just what would be the most logical and the best word to be next. And so as you work with it, you'll start to see that, where depending on how you structure the grammar of your response, you'll get a certain output. The way you structure the questions and the overall prompt, you're just going to get a better output. So let me show another example. So here's a really, really fascinating one. So if you want to say, get better at writing emails, or let's say, or it could be anything, but let's just say emails. Okay, so I'm going to do this first prompt, and I'll read this out loud. Hey, let's do a new chat. All right, so you are an expert in expertise. I want you to act as a critic. Acknowledge this with understood. And the expertise, let's say, let's do mushrooms. Let's stick with that. All right, let's do jokes. That's more fun. Jokes. All right. Oh, actually, I want to do GPT-4. It's like way better. It might just take a little bit longer. Jokes. And actually, this is a really good point. So you see, like I say, acknowledge this with understood, and GPT-4 acknowledges it with understood. GPT 3.5 says understood, but then kind of goes wild and says, has all this other additional stuff. I didn't want that. Like just wanted it to say understood. So GPT-4 is already, outperforming. Okay, so I want you to act as the critic. And then let's take that joke. And so let's say now we have this joke. Copy this, go back over, and we'll paste that in. And it's acting as a critic. It's an expert in jokes. And let's see what it says about its own joke. All right, so it's saying, as a joke critic, I'd like to commend you on your choice of subject matter. Mushroom humor is relatively untapped, which is true. How many mushroom jokes can you do? But then it says there are a few areas for improvement. The section on Wisconsin and mushrooms could be expanded upon local flavor, better connected to the overall theme. Additionally, while the delivery is crucial in stand-up comedy, it's important to ensure that the punchline has enough weight to generate laughter. So it's allowing you to criticize whatever text you put in there. And so by priming the system with this prompt, you now can do that. And so obviously we're doing just a light humor one where it's jokes, but think about that could be an email to your boss, that could be a sales letter, that could be an ebook, it could be, you know, whatever your day-to-day stuff is. If you want it to perform better and you know, just in general have a better outcome, you can do these type of prompts. So let's
Yeah, Brad, I was going to ask you really quick on one of the prompts. Is it possible, like, I'm curious what an example would be. Let's say, you know, and there might be a couple like freelancers or entrepreneurs here on the call right now. And I'm just curious what a prompt in Chat GPT how it could be useful for, you know, a solo entrepreneur or a small business generating content, whether it's an email. I didn't even realize, you know, great point on the sales, a sales email, etc. Is there something general that a general prompt that we could showcase in terms of that, or they could also in the resources you send as well, there might be some things there, but I was just curious if maybe some typical ways that you've seen it used in that way.
yes. So there's a ton. So let's say like, so here's a good one. Here's a nice simple one. So I want to add to my topical authority, which is an SEO term. Basically, let's say you want to expand your website with more blog posts that will get SEO and you know, expand your reach. A lot of people, I'm from the web world, and so many people struggle with creating content for their website and for the social media, but it's the most important thing outside of, like, it's probably the most important thing. And we'll get to that in my next presentation in a couple weeks from now. But when you're generating content, it's often hard. And so let's say if we're going to generate blog posts, let's say the niche is, what could be a niche? I'm just going to stick with the jokes because it's fun, but as it paints a picture. All right. So right now, if you look at this, so just from that one priming, I want to add to my authority here. And so all of a sudden now you have 10 blog posts. And so there's no excuse that you can't write this. However, not only do you not need to worry about writer's block, but now you can go in and say, okay, great. Write 1,000. All right, here, I'm going to, oops. Let's do, I'll just stick to the generic one. Okay, write 1,000-word blog post about for number 1. So the psychology of humor. Why do we find jokes funny? So I'm going to ask it for 1,000-word blog post. Now you got 1,000-word blog post. So, you know, this
is huge. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's really mind-blowing. But a lot of this stuff, so, and it can pile on one another. So if we go back to, like, let's say the critic. So here, I'll just answer the copy. I know a lot of these. You are a critic of jokes. Analyze of text and improvements step by step. All right, so it's going to analyze its own blog post. So now all of a sudden, you've now had AI create that blog post on humor. Now it's analyzing it of how it can improve it. And now that's primed in here. Great. Now rewrite the blog post based on the criticism above. Okay. So now here's an even better, like, not only was that one really great, now this one's even better. What you'll find though is a lot of people can do this now. So obviously this is going to be, so it's like, you'll see that it's very uniform. And so Google and all these they're figuring this stuff out, and you don't want just all this AI generated stuff. So there's actually like, there's different tools. So if I go over to, there's, let's see, chat GPT-0, I think it's called. GPT's 0gpt.com. Oh, no, that's not it.
When you get a chance, Carla has one more question for you.
Okay. This isn't the one I use, but let's see what it says. So it's probably going to say, yep. So it's going to say it's AI generated. But then this goes back to the ethical stuff, is like, you got to really be, you got to, let's see. Okay. Rewrite the above post. So this is a long thing, but this is one thing that I figured out how to get it to be more human, but oh, I'm not using GPT-4, but I guess you get the point. Like, you can continually refine it, and this could be anything. So this could be like, write a, I don't know, super generic thing, write a sales email for a used car to young families. So you instantly have a sales email, and then you can, obviously tweak it that way. So like, there's a lot of different ways where you never really know what the specific use cases are, but a lot of these tasks might take 5 minutes, might take 50 minutes, and now it takes 5 seconds. And so if you think about the productivity gains that you get from this, it's really quite incredible. So, it's, what was the question?
Yeah, Carla says, I see you using the brackets in your prompts. I've not seen this before. Are there any other tidbits like this to use when writing a prompt?
Yes. So again, be sure to email me if you've watched this. The email is in the chat. I can send out a lot of these tips, but basically there's just a lot of different tricks and just like, different ways of going about it. Let me see if there's another. Here's one. Here's just one fun one. So let's say that you need to get advice from someone. So one would be let's see. So I had all right. So here's my wife and I have a 3-year-old, and we're exploring Montessori. So I was playing around with this earlier, and so you are a historical figure. I would like to have a conversation with you. If you understand, reply with understood. And the historical figure for me right now is Maria Montessori, the founder of the Montessori educational schools. So if I hit enter, it's gonna, I'm not using GPT-4. GPT-4 is so much better. It's just slow. Okay, so, okay, understood. All right, so then I can say, all of a sudden now, like whatever your industry is, you can now have a conversation with that person. As long as they've put out enough books, they have enough blog posts, they have enough like content out in the world, you can like literally have a conversation with them. So Maria Montessori died a long time ago, but I could say, what are your beliefs on integrating technology into the classroom? So I'm technically having a conversation with the founder of Montessori, who she even said, so this, I'll read it. As Maria Montessori, I developed my educational philosophy during a time when technology in the classroom was not as prevalent as it is today. However, I can attempt to provide you with a perspective on technology integration based on the Montessori principles. And then it goes on to explain how technology could be used in a way where it would adapt to this era. And it's giving some ideas on how it could be integrated. Here's one: provide purposeful use of the technology. It should not just be used for the sake of using it, but rather to support specific learning objectives, encourage individualized learning, foster collaboration and communication, develop digital literacy. This is somewhat, it's obviously not her, but this is Maria Montessori telling me about how to integrate technology into the classroom. So now take that example, and whatever your industry is, maybe there's, a famous author, or maybe there's, a certain expert, or it doesn't even need to be a specific person. So a really simple one would be, and I guess this will be my final example, because we're kind of running out of time here. I'm going to go over here into this like super advanced one and just kind of paint the picture here. So this is the playground for OpenAI. And I'll say, you are a, I'll just call it tax GPT. You are a tax, or not tax, law GPT, and you are an expert in, let's say, business structures in Wisconsin. All right, so I've primed it with that, and then I can put in, I need a, so this is priming it. I need a partnership, I know, let's say affiliate agreement for a digital product. And then let's see what pops out. So all of a sudden, you're now talking to a lawyer for free. So there, this is obviously, this is, this was 3.5. Let's see what it says with 4. This will be a little bit better. Okay, so now it's generating an outline. And so you can then say, great, create actual agreement. Let me go in. And it's always going to have those like, don't sue me kind of things. But there you go. There's an affiliate agreement. Obviously, for something as sensitive as legal or tax law or something like that, you obviously want to, double check it. But and this is just quick, and like it kind of stops. It doesn't have a length here. Let me make it the full length here. Keep going. So what's really remarkable is, if you think about how this used to go, was you would email, say, your attorney, you would email them, you would set up a time, you would 2 days later hop on a phone call, you would talk for an hour while getting billed to be talked, have that conversation. They would then go back, draft up the agreement, send it back to you. You would approve it or have questions. You'd send it back to them. Then all of a sudden, you have this agreement. And then after that, you have an invoice that's sent to you. Then you have to go into QuickBooks, cut a check. And then $2,500 later, you have, and maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, you have this agreement where I'm doing it in real time. And it might not be perfect. So again, talk to an attorney, like this stuff isn't perfect just yet, but you'll see that it gets it quite a ways there. So you could then take this agreement and maybe then say, you are a judge. Give me here. Let's do that real quick. And then we'll, here, let's do that, and then we'll so I'm going to go in GPT-4. You are a judge. Where are the holes in this agreement? And I'm going to have to scroll back up and then add those other ones because it's going to say it doesn't have these things. So let's see. All right. And again, it's going to give the thing. Point out some potentials that may need improvement. So all of a sudden, okay, yeah, it's the structure of it, which is because I just straight up copied and pasted it. But you'll see that, okay, there's ambiguity in the referral fee formula. Like, okay, and then after this one, I'm going to stop it and then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to now rewrite the agreement, taking into consideration these critiques. So now it's rewriting it based on that. So I hope like now you'll see, and so that's, we're at 728. So, but this
Wow.
literally just scratches the surface, like literally just scratches the surface of what's
Yep.
possible.
Well, Carla said, when you were somewhat talking with the founder of the Montessori schools, it felt like we were in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, back to
Speaking
so
of public
great.
figure. So real quick, Tommy sent a real quick one. Let's see if it takes 30 seconds to answer. I missed the first few minutes of this presentation. Can you send me a copy of the recording? Yes, Tom, we're gonna send this out. And Brad has some resources that we'll get out to you as well. This is amazing. I felt this should have been 100 people in this webinar. This was a masterclass of intro to a lot of this, and something that a lot of the general population, but for sure entrepreneurs and small businesses and those thinking in that direction would have completely benefited from. And I just want to say, in the chat, one, there's a survey. It'll help us out a lot. How did Brad do today? Amazing. So let's for sure, there's a quick survey that maybe there's something else that you'd like for us to consider, but also I left a link in there for Brad's part 2 in a couple weeks, and you can register through that link. It's an Eventbrite link. Brad's going to be talking about contacts to customers, how to grow revenue through your website. So definitely don't want to miss that. Brad, is there any last second things as we close out here you'd like to say, or anything that I just want to leave the last word with you?
Yeah, well, like I said, this stuff is changing incredibly quickly, where like almost every day my mind is being blown, and I've been like immersed in this in a long time. And it's like today I was like literally shaking of how excited I was about some of this stuff, because it's transformational. And the parting words would be that it's not something to fear, it's something to embrace. Because just as the current jobs are going away, there's always going to be new things to solve. And especially with this being an entrepreneurial class or audience here, there's always new problems to solve. And so what this is going to do is just free up our time to focus on more important things, like, education, or, things in science or in the environment or the economy. Or there's never going to be tasks that aren't, there's always going to be new things to solve. So don't be afraid of this. Just realize that your current job or your current role or your current company is probably going to get replaced. But with you being on this video, you're already light years ahead of everyone, because you'd be amazed of the people that I talk to that have no idea that this stuff even exists, let alone play with. and then let alone actually use on a day-to-day basis. So for everyone here, like you're already ahead of the game, and this could be life-changing for you.
Absolutely. Well, today was life-changing for me. I know everyone else could say the same thing. If you can, show some love to Brad in the chat. But this is part one. We've invited Brad to come back to, again, we're kicking off this 6-part series. This is first of 6. Brad's going to come back, do part 2. And I hope you guys join us for the entire spring as we offer more workshops as well. So thank you, Brad. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. You will get the recording shortly, and the resources as well. But thank you, everyone. Brad, thank you again. And until next time, thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Yep.